Welcome to episode 26 of the Active Bariatric Nutrition Podcast. I'm your host, Kim Tirapelli, bariatric sports dietitian. Today, I want to discuss underfueling and how to identify symptoms of underfueling for your workouts. As you increase exercise, you may be wondering if you're taking in enough to recover well and get the most out of your workouts to see results. As a bariatric athlete, where overall intake is already generally reduced, this can be quite common. So let's chat today about how to identify if you are underfueled and how to prevent that moving forward. So let's dive in. So what does underfueling mean? I know it might be something you're like, well, as a bariatric athlete, I should be underfueled a little bit, right? Because I had surgery. But in general, underfueling for an athlete means not consuming adequate calories or macronutrients like carbohydrates, proteins, or fats, or even micronutrients, vitamins and minerals that help fuel your activity level and maintain normal body functions. This can lead to signs and symptoms and side effects that you will notice when you're exercising. So let's talk about what these signs and symptoms are of underfueling, so that you can identify that if you're feeling some of these things. So one sign or symptom of underfueling would be struggling to make it through training sessions or hitting the wall like midway through your workout. So think about a workout where you've gone in and maybe you were halfway through the workout and you just noticed that your energy level was really low. You were struggling to get through your sets, or if you were running, maybe you just feel like you can't keep your pace. Your intensity level is lower because you just feel, like you don't have enough energy to get through. That can indicate that your overall calorie intake does need to increase, or maybe strategizing around the workouts as well. Frequently being injured is another sign or symptom of underfueling. So if you're not consuming enough overall calories, macronutrients, or you have vitamin and mineral deficiencies, your body cannot repair itself properly, right? And that increases your risk of injury over time. And this can kind of build over time. And what you'll notice is that you just chronically have injuries, whether it's pulled muscles or strains, or maybe you start noticing like stress fractures, things like that. That can tell us that overall your nutritional level for what you're doing for exercise is inadequate. If you're frequently sick, if you feel like you're just chronically fighting off like colds and upper respiratory tract infections, that can tell us that maybe you're not getting in enough, for example, protein. Because remember, protein plays so many roles in the body, and one of them is to create antibodies to fight off infection. So if you're underfueled and you're not taking in adequate calories or protein, for example, or even other vitamins and minerals that help with our immune system, this can lead to you being sick chronically all the time. Irregular menstrual cycle or loss of menstruation completely. So ladies, if you're not eating enough calories for your training level, what can happen is you can see irregular or missed periods. And I don't know if maybe when you were, younger, and perhaps as an athlete when you were younger, you missed your period, and maybe back then they said, oh, it's just because you're an athlete. That's not accurate. Okay. If you are not taking in adequate calories, this can lead to your estrogen levels dropping. Normal estrogen levels are required, for example, to maintain normal calcium content of your bones. And that can then lead to bone loss over time as well. So it's something that we have to pay attention to, because if we are not having our menstrual cycle, each month or on a consistent basis that's regular for you, that can tell us too that our overall nutritional intake is inadequate. So we definitely need to take a look if that's happening. Loss of muscle mass. So as a bariatric athlete, let's say after surgery, as we start to increase our exercise and maybe you're starting to lift more, if you notice that you just are not seeing any gains, or for example, maybe you had gained some muscle, but all of a sudden you see muscle losing, loss. Maybe you have a body composition measurement done, and over time you have actually seen muscle losses. That can tell us again that maybe we're not taking in adequate calories or protein to maintain that. And remember too that when we lose muscle mass, that can impact our metabolism. And again, if we're maybe to a point where, okay, let's say I want to start losing some weight again. If we're losing muscle mass because our intake is really overall too low for the amount of exercise we're doing, that's going to make it harder for you to lose weight because your metabolism is lower. Not sleeping well. So another sign of underfueling is not sleeping well. This can lead to difficulty with falling asleep or staying asleep if we're not taking enough calories, because energy is what's required for our body to provide these normal functions. Okay. Never feeling fully recovered after your workouts. So I will hear this quite a bit from my bariatric athletes who, maybe are skipping, or they're just not taking in adequate overall carbohydrates or protein after their workouts. They'll notice prolonged muscle soreness, where several days after a harder workout, they're just feeling still really sore, fatigued, like they're just not recovering well. Okay, that can be a sign of inadequate fueling. And then also mentally feeling irritable, confused, having lack of concentration, maybe like you're in a fog. I've heard that before from bariatric clients that just feel like in their workouts, they don't feel well the rest of the day. They're just not into it, right? They don't feel like they can concentrate. Again, those are all signs and symptoms of being underfueled for the amount of activity that you are doing. So, how do we prevent underfueling? Let's dive into that. So, I want to just highlight, in the initial phases after bariatric surgery, in the first 3 to 6 months specifically, even up to the first year, your overall intake is low. You've had bariatric surgery, right? What's the purpose of bariatric surgery? We are reducing the amount of overall nutrition that we can consume at one time. It impacts our ability to absorb all those nutrients. And that then, of course, leads to lower overall intake, which can lead to weight loss. Well, of course, because of that surgery, your intake in that first, 6 to 9 months up to a year is lower. So what I will say to folks is, over time, as you begin increasing the frequency of your exercise, the duration of your workouts, the intensity level of your workouts, this is when your overall intake will likely need to also gradually increase. Okay. And so I often get that question, Kim, when is the time that I should be kind of moving away from my, initial post-op bariatric nutrition guidelines and starting to maybe increase? So what I use as a threshold typically is if folks are starting to exercise, a minimum of 3 to 5 times a week, exercising at least 30 minutes up to an hour or more, that's where typically you might see over time, you start to feel run down if we're not increasing the calories from that baseline post-op bariatric diet, right? And so that is where, I'll start working with clients on where can we make some changes to help you feel better, in your workouts so that you can get the most out of these training sessions. Another way to prevent underfueling, of course, is obviously looking at those calories, carbohydrates, protein, fat. These will need to be increased over time, and that's going to be very individualized for your personal goals, your needs, and your workout level. So, guys, I can't unfortunately come on to my podcast and say every one of you is going to need X amount of calories, carbs, protein, fat every day, right? Because you're all unique. And so that standard cookie cutter post-op diet that a lot of bariatric, places will provide, 8 to 1200 calories for life, oftentimes what folks say to me is, hey, that just isn't meeting my needs. I'm doing X amount of exercise. Is it time now to be, maybe increasing from there? Yeah. And what I always say is, we're going to get through that initial phase. You're going to work through that post-op bariatric diet progression, just like everyone does after the surgery. Totally fine. But at some point, it is going to become important that we begin increasing those to help optimize your workouts. Okay. What I usually tell folks to do first is start by keeping a food log. Okay. Track maybe 3 to 5 days of a typical week of intake to get an idea of what your current baseline nutrition is, right? And what a log does, guys, is it's just giving us a snapshot. It's giving us a look into what are we doing? What are our patterns? And what I would say is take a look at that schedule of eating, because one of the strategies to help prevent underfueling is to look at my frequency of eating. Am I currently in a pattern of skipping meals? Do I tend to maybe graze and kind of just eat little bits all day rather than sitting down and eating balanced plates that incorporate carbohydrates, proteins, and fats? Because that is going to be an important strategy if you are wanting to be properly fueled for exercise. So moving away from, more of a maybe just snacking, little grazing pattern throughout the day and getting more into a consistent eating pattern of every about 3 to 4 hours having a meal that's balanced with carbohydrates and protein. And then if you do need to incorporate snacks to further meet your overall nutritional needs, then we do that as well. Okay. But I start with taking a look at a food log. Let's see where we're at. Taking a look at your schedule of eating. Are you eating on a consistent schedule? And then the next strategy I would say is, are you eating around your workouts? Because perhaps you're just at this point eating 3 meals a day, but maybe your workout is first thing in the morning. And at this point, maybe you're not having something to eat pre-workout. That can be an opportunity to provide your muscles with some carbohydrate, because remember, and I know I say this all the time on my episodes, carbohydrate is the energy source for your muscles, right? And so at moderate to high intensity levels, your body does require carbohydrate. And so if you're pushing yourself, you're working on the treadmill or you're going to lift or you're going outside for a run or a cycle or a swim, carbohydrate is going to help you to fuel that workout. But also I want to highlight that Eating pre-workout is part of your overall daily intake, and that helps you meet your overall daily goals for carbs and calories. So that's an important window of time to target some nutrition in that pre-workout window. Also, I'll talk here in a moment about post-workout and recovery nutrition. Both of these are going to be important around your workouts. So pre-workout and post-workout. So let's talk a little bit more about that. So as I've said in previous episodes, in the 1 to 2 hours pre-workout, if possible, try to consume about 15 to 30 grams of carbohydrate to help fuel your muscles in the workout, kind of top off those muscle glycogen stores so that your muscles have that readily available energy source to use. Some examples of 15 to 30 grams of carbohydrate include 1/2 to 1 whole banana. So a half of a banana is 15 grams of carb, 1 banana is 30 grams of carbohydrate. That could be something that you grab on the way out the door and eat on your way to your workout. An applesauce pouch, that can give us about 15 to 20 grams of carbs. A slice of toast with some peanut butter, or maybe even slices of a banana on top. A Greek yogurt, which is going to have some carbohydrate and protein. Having some overnight oats or just a bowl of oatmeal or even some dry cereal. Dried or fresh fruit can be something that has rich carbohydrate that you can have pre-workout. Granola bar, fig bars, graham crackers. These are all small things, pretzels that you can grab and go, and it doesn't have to be a lot because I know that it can be hard to have something pre-workout, but even just something is going to be better than nothing to help you fuel your workout better. Okay. For optimal recovery, we want to try to eat, if you can, within about 1 to 2 hours after your workout. But let me just highlight something because I just received this question today from someone. Is the timing of protein after my workout, for example, really important? Like if I can't eat within that first hour, is that going to, increase muscle breakdown? No. So the number one factor, guys, in overall improving your recovery is your overall protein intake in a day and calories, of course, too. All right. If you cannot eat within that first hour or two after your workout, it doesn't mean this is, your workout goes to waste. No, because overall in the course of the day, your overall intake of calories, protein, etc., are going to be number one most important factor. Okay. But the next strategy above that then would be timing so that we can optimize that strategy to help you recover better. So if you can try to eat within the first 1 to 2 hours after the workout, great. The goals include 20 to 40 grams of protein and about 30 grams of carbohydrate. Because what are we doing? We're putting gas back into the tank, right? So that you can work out again, whether that's the day after or the day after that. We want to refuel those muscles with energy. And at that point in the recovery window, your muscles are very readily open for nutrition. Okay. So strategizing with this timing can be helpful for you to optimize your recovery. So examples can include Greek yogurt with berries or granola. Again, overnight oats, adding in some whey protein powder, maybe topping with berries or Greek yogurt, for example. A deli meat sandwich. So you have your deli meats on 1 or 2 slices of bread. You can do 3 ounces of chicken, turkey, pork, beef, whatever meat source you enjoy, because 3 ounces of meat equals 21 grams of protein. And then you could pair that with something like 1/3 to a half cup of quinoa or some steamed vegetables. 2 eggs or an omelet paired with a slice of toast or fruit. That's going to give us that protein and carbs we're aiming for. Or even just a protein shake paired with some fruit. I know a lot of you might say, hey, Kim, I can't eat really in that first 1 to 2 hours. I just feel, my appetite's somewhat suppressed. And so maybe a protein shake paired with like half to a full banana can help you to get that carb and protein ratio in to help optimize your recovery. Another strategy to basically help prevent underfueling is I want you to think about, is it time to maybe increase my overall intake? Maybe I do need to add in 100 to 200 calories in a day right now and see how that makes me feel, right? And we can gradually increase to a level where you're feeling better in the workouts. I always tell my one-to-one clients, listen, we're not going to just jump up to, 400, 500, 600 calories at a time. We're going to start incrementally increasing calories, carbohydrates, protein, fat, etc., because that is going to be tolerated more easily. Okay, so we want to do this in a realistic way because it's not just as easy for a bariatric individual to, jump up and increase calories. You might feel too full. It might not, might not tolerate that. And so we have to do these utilizing strategies that are realistic. Okay, so I always say, listen, if you're feeling run down all the time, let's look at our overall intake, our timing of our meals. Can we look at that? Maybe it's time now to start increasing some calories, some carbs, and protein. So again, are you meeting your overall protein and carbohydrate goals? Are you eating a wider variety of foods? Remember, after that first, really that first 6 months to a year, your diet's, somewhat restricted. Some folks don't tolerate, different foods or food groups initially. And generally speaking, over time, as a bariatric individual, you will begin to increase the variety. And over time, typically folks are able to tolerate, more foods. And so I always just remind you, if you have kind of gotten into this stale eating pattern and you're kind of eating the same meals day in and day out, you're not, trying other foods, start trying some different things, because not only are you going to maybe enjoy it better because it's new flavors, but you're increasing the variety of nutrients that your body is also taking in. So if we're always eating the same, chicken and broccoli, let's try some other protein sources, some other vegetables or fruits or whole grains. That will help make you feel better as well. Okay. And in terms of carbohydrates, because carbs kind of get a bad rap, but as I mentioned, they are the main energy source for our muscles during exercise. And one other piece is we're taught as bariatric individuals that we need to keep our carbs low, right? But if you are exercising more to help reduce the risk of underfueling, carbohydrates do generally need to increase as well. And so what I will do again with my clients is we will begin by incrementally trying to add 15 to 30 grams of carbohydrate at a meal. So let's say, for example, right now you're eating, 30 grams of carbs at each meal generally. Maybe we try to increase that to 45 grams. Okay. So we add one serving of, whole grain, or we add a serving of fruit. That's going to increase us by 15 grams right there. Okay. So we can try that to see if that helps basically optimize your exercise, your workouts, increasing your carbohydrates, also increasing protein over time, especially if you are trying to gain some muscle. Increasing protein over time to a more optimal range can be helpful for that as well. And if you are unsure of what and how much, that's exactly what I help my clients do, is we develop a nutrition plan to basically meet what your current goals are. So if you ever have questions about that, if you're looking for help, you're just sick of, guessing and, Googling it, please let me know. That's exactly what I help my clients do, is to develop a nutrition plan that helps them meet their fitness goals so that you feel good. Like, what's the purpose of doing all this if you're just chronically feeling tired and run down? That doesn't make exercise enjoyable, right? And that's going to be part of your journey for life. After bariatric surgery is incorporating movement. And so we want to feel good when we're doing it, right? Another thing to take a look at, guys, to prevent underfueling down the road is, are you having your labs drawn annually? And I know, again, I'm a broken record. I talk about this every single episode, but taking your bariatric vitamins and minerals daily are required for life, right? And if you are feeling run down and you feel like you have been trying to change your nutrition, like you're eating a little bit more and you're still kind of like not feeling good, that's where maybe having some labs drawn can be helpful, so that we can get a good look at the micronutrient level. Are you taking an adequate vitamins and minerals? Okay. So, and certainly if you have a deficiency, that can lead to feelings of fatigue and being run down, or things like stress fractures, because those micronutrients all play important roles. And in fact, in last week's episode 25 of the Active Bariatric Nutrition Podcast, I talked about micronutrients specifically of interest to bariatric athletes. So if you haven't listened to that episode, go give it a listen. Take hopefully take some information from that. But again, making sure that you are getting these in daily and having your labs drawn annually is really, really important. And then getting 7 to 9 hours of sleep per night is critical to recovery and repair of muscle tissue, and overall just repairing your body, your brain. And so it's important that we're getting an adequate sleep. Guys, just as important it is about timing our nutrition and we're getting our hydration and, we're looking at all these things, during the day, sleeping is so important. If you want to be more active and you're trying to achieve certain body composition goals after bariatric surgery, sleep is critical. And in fact, I'll even have folks that get into a plateau because their sleep is so poor. And once we adjust just getting more sleep, they feel more rested. They're able to work out harder in their workouts because they have more energy. It makes the world a difference. So take a look at your sleep patterns. Are you getting at least 7 to 8, maybe up to 9 hours of sleep per night? And then one last thing I'll just highlight here too, guys, is be mindful that you're taking rest and recovery days. All right. I know that, it feels great to move your body in new and different ways and you have goals that you want to reach. But part of reaching these goals is going to be giving your body time to recover. And if we're chronically exercising 7 days a week, we might be having what's called the transfer of addiction, where we're moving to, compulsive exercise as something that, is maybe an unhealthy relationship. And we need to establish a healthier relationship with exercise and our nutrition in this post-op journey. So I just wanted to make sure I said that today because, of course, I'm going to talk about the nutritional factors of underfueling. But of course, if you are overtraining, right, that is also a piece to this puzzle as well that we need to take a look at, and maybe incorporating some lower intensity, days or some stretching days, and maybe adding in a full day of rest where you're not doing any, particular workout, is going to help you to overall meet those goals. Because again, if we're underfueling and overtraining, that is a real recipe for, having injuries, illness, things that set us back, that then delays us reaching our goals. So keep that in mind. Consider, looking at your current patterns, and do you need to take a little bit more rest and recovery? And that's okay. It's okay. You can still reach your goals by giving your body some time to repair and recover and grow. Right? So I just want to say in summary, as a bariatric athlete, I know it can be challenging to prevent underfueling because, again, you've had a surgery that reduces our overall ability to take in nutrition. But as we increase exercise, we want to find ways and strategies to optimize what we are taking in to help us meet those goals. And so we want to look at consistently eating on a set schedule, try to not skip or, haphazardly eat. Some days I eat at 9, some days I don't eat till noon. Let's try to get on a more consistent eating pattern. That's going to help. Eating a wider variety of foods that include more, carbohydrates, protein, fat, your vitamins and minerals. That can really help optimize nutrition. And then just looking at, overall strategies in terms of, am I getting enough sleep? Am I, doing the timing and all these other smaller things that maybe we don't think are as important, but they absolutely are. They all play a role in how our body responds to these demands of exercise. Okay. And, if you are, confused and you have no idea how to, eat now that you are starting to exercise more, or perhaps you have a goal that you'd like to reach over the summer, you're wanting to train for, a 10K or a half or full marathon or a cycling event, whatever it might be, you just want to increase your muscle mass. That is exactly what I help my clients do. So if you ever have questions, please reach out. You can go to my website to schedule a free discovery call. My website is activebariatricnutrition.com and /discovery. And that'll take you right to a scheduling where you can schedule a free discovery call. And we can learn more about each other's, your goals, obviously how I can best assist you to see if we're a good match. So don't ever hesitate to do that. And feel free to always reach out if you have a question. You can always message me on my social media pages. You can follow me on Instagram, which is my handle is at Active Bariatric. I have a Facebook group. I have a TikTok page. And you can also watch the full videos of these podcast episodes on my YouTube channel, the Active Bariatric Nutrition channel. So I hope that you found today's episode helpful. If you ever have any questions, please reach out. And you know what? We're going to do this again next week. Thanks again for tuning in, guys. Have a great day. Take care.